Okay, in this tutorial we're going to look at unwrapping in Maya. I'm just going to look at the basics first of all. So I have 4 simple objects here, just a cube, a cylinder, sphere and a plane object, and these are just polygon primitives. To this I've applied a checker material, just a very simple one, and these objects already have UV mapping applied to them. So essentially UV mapping acts as a way of unfolding the 3D object into a 2D plane, and that allows it to be textured, whether in 2D programs or even in 3D programs. They need UV coordinates to be able to apply the texture to the surface of your model. So we have different ways of doing this, and as I say, Maya actually inbuilds coordinates into these objects. So the best thing to do is have a look at them. Just go into the polygons module, make sure you're in there, and we've got 2 things here which really apply to what we're talking about. So just go into Edit UVs and the UV texture editor. I'll just drag this over. So just using the same controls as you would for the viewport, Alt, pan around, zoom in and out. No dolly on this, no orbit on this, purely a 2D plane. So these faces represent the faces of this cube, and this acts very much like, a traditional net that you might have done in school possibly. We fold all these, stick them all together with tabs at the side, and you have an object, a building, whatever you wanted. So the way we can deal with these, just right click over this, we can actually select these on a polygon by polygon basis. You can see as I do this, it tends to make the other parts disappear, and it's difficult to work with in this view here. We can do this as normal in our object. Okay, and you'll see that only these selected polygons are visible in our UV texture window. We can go to edges, and we can go and select edges in this, which can be quite useful in some circumstances. If we actually click on an edge, it will show you from the original object where this should be connected. So you can see right now I have this edge selected, and it shows this edge here, and this is where these 2, oops, let me select this again. So where these 2 edges come together, from connecting from there to there, and from there to there. Okay, also from there to there. And we can go in and grab our vertex, but there's no reason to do that. It doesn't really add anything apart from a selection point of view. And the main one being UV. So our UVs enable us to select all the individual points, which are based on our vertex points. But we can manipulate these, we can move these about, we can scale these, rotate them, anything we want with them. It doesn't affect the base model, that's important to note. It's not vertices that we're moving, it's the UV points. So even though they start roughly in the same points, we can manipulate those. Although ultimately you do want a good representation of your mesh in terms of polygon shape and vertex placement. So you can't just place them anywhere. One of the things we're really watching out for in terms of texturing is stretching. So right now I have this checkerboard on. I'm just going to put this into high quality so you can see this a bit better. We have this checkerboard pattern on here. Don't worry that it doesn't repeat round perfectly on the checkerboard. It wouldn't matter for texturing purposes. And all of these checkers are pretty evenly sized. Let me just go in and isolate this for a second. It says, don't know where that's gone. Oh, it's because I'm in sub-object mode. Okay, so they're pretty evenly sized, and that's what we want. We want the texture to wrap evenly around the surface of an object. For us to go in and select some UVs in here, drag these out. So you can see what's happening now is it's actually flattening this texture out, so it's bringing it in as we drag this out. It's having to towel more times essentially to be able to fill up the space there. Similarly, if I bring this down too small, it starts stretching that texture out to try and accommodate for that smaller space. So you're going to try and keep the polygons, vertices, evenly shaped to the original object, to the original sizing and proportions of the object. Let's come out of that. Let's just come out of our isolate mode. Let's look at our cylinder. So the cylinder itself, we can see on here straight away, it brings this up. It's built up of two different things really. It's built up of the side, or three different parts. Built up of the side and the top and bottom of this cylinder. You can see that we do have problems with this in terms of the spacing of the cubes or the boxes on the side as opposed to the top there. So we could go in here and we can select these UVs. Now there's a really nice thing with here. If I just select these and drag around them, just move these, you can see I'm actually dragging points from the top and bottom as well, which I don't really want in this situation. I only want to deal with these side pieces. So if we just select a few points from this and just control right click, I'm going to go to this option here, to shell. What that does is it just selects the points that are built up of this shell around the side, this having been separated. You can see there we're just selecting those pieces now. And now what I could do with this is just scale this out, and we're looking for each one of these pieces is should be the width of this piece here. So we're looking to get that. So let's just scale those out. Something more like that. Just have a look at that. Maybe a bit big. Okay, around there. You see that's made that much more in line with it. Okay. Now we do have a problem here in terms of the positioning of this. You can see on here we have one sort of tile that's got the checkerboard on there, and this is the first UV tile. We have multiple one of these, but a lot of programs only support one of these, and many game engines only support one UV tile. So we'll just work within the constraints of this. Basically we need to get everything from our object inside of this. Now because these are all matching up in terms of size, I don't want to just scale this down again or scale these down. So I'm going to select all of the UVs on this and then just scale the whole thing down. I don't want to scale it down too much. I do want to maximize the use of this space. Okay. What I may even do is just grab these, just control click to shell. Let's move that up here. Let's just get this, control click to shell. As soon as we've got the space, I can just afford to move those out a bit. Okay. I have that. Again, just go back to object mode and click on the sphere. So the sphere tries to do, it's a difficult object to texture, and it tries to do the best job it can, almost like a cylindrical format of wrapping. You can see at the top it starts getting a bit iffy, starts going off a bit. You can see on here actually what it's doing is it's separating all these off into polygons, and then at the top it's separating these triangles off, just one by one, and splitting them off. But the trouble with this, these are all evenly sized. On here they are different sizes, and this is why you're getting this weird stretching and distortion around the object. It's difficult to achieve. You know, no matter what we do with this, just going to grab the UVs. We can scale this in to try and get the ones on the front a bit squarer, but we're always going to get these elongated ones. Scale those out. You're always going to have problems on that. Okay. And the final one we just got here is a plane. No, this is the most simple one. You can just see on that we have our texture in there. And it's safe for us to go in with UVs. We're going to start getting stretching and distortion as we go against the natural size and proportions of that shape. Okay, so that's just a quick look at the basic objects and the UV texture editor, just to give us a bit of awareness. I'll finish this tutorial here, but in the next one what we'll go on to is actually applying UVs to an object.